Do you know that after committing a crime, a criminal often puts in a lot of effort to avoid getting caught? But if the police really want to, they can find and catch a criminal under any circumstances. Today, we will discuss a case where the criminal did something that shocked not only the victim's family but also their own family, to the point where an inquiry was held even on the investigating police. Greetings, friends. How are you doing? Today, we will talk about the Ruppal case. This incident began in Mumbai, Maharashtra. There is a residential building in the Pawi area, near Andheri East, under the jurisdiction of the Pavai police station. The building is not far from the airport, located on Mawar Road. On the third floor of this building, in flat number 306, lived a woman named Rupal. Rupal, 25 years old, was a trainee air hostess. Along with her, her sister Ishwaya Oga also lived in the rented flat, and Ishwaya worked at SSI Bank. Both sisters were originally from New Rajendra Nagar in Ruppal, Chhattisgarh. During holidays, both would often visit their home. This incident took place in September 2023, during the last week of the month. It was the time of Raksha Bandhan, and the two sisters had gone back to their hometown to celebrate. However, due to her job as an air hostess, Rupal had to return to Mumbai before the festival. While Ishwaya stayed back in their hometown, Rupal was left alone in the flat. Some media reports suggest that there was another friend of the sisters who used to stay with them in the flat, but she too had gone to her hometown. So, now Rupal was completely alone in the flat. She used to have regular phone conversations with her family, as she lived far from them. It was common for family members or friends to call her. Now, let's talk about September 3rd, 2023, which was a Sunday. On this day, Rupal was at home. It was a holiday for her training institute, so her family knew she would be free at home. As usual, her family tried calling her around 10:30 to 11 a.m. She had a conversation with her family and friends over voice or video calls. However, after 11 a.m., Rupal stopped answering calls. Her father thought that maybe she was busy with something at home, preparing breakfast or something similar. He tried calling her around 11 a.m., but the call didn't go through. It rang completely but didn't connect. Her father waited for an hour or two, thinking she might return the call, as she usually did if she was busy. But, that day, there was no call back, and no one from the family had heard from her. Eventually, the concern grew as it was quite unusual for Rupal to not respond. A few hours went by, but still no calls were answered. Her family tried reaching out to her, but there was no response. Since Rupal was living alone in Mumbai, her family began to get anxious. Even her sister Ishwaya was in Ruppal. As the day progressed, the concern grew, and at around 9 p.m., Ishwaya contacted a friend in Mumbai, asking them to go to the flat and check on Rupal since she hadn't answered the phone all day. The friend reached the building around 9:30 p.m., and they informed the security guard about the situation. They requested to go to flat number 306. Typically, anyone visiting the building is required to sign in at the entrance, mentioning their name, whom they are visiting, and the flat number. This is a security measure in every residential building. At the friend's request, the security guard and a few other people accompanied them to the flat. The friend rang the doorbell multiple times, but there was no response from inside. They tried knocking on the door as well, but again, no response. When they attempted to open the door, they found that it was locked. The friend called Ishwaya to inform her about the situation. Ishwaya suggested that there was a locksmith nearby who could make a duplicate key to open the door. The friend went to the locksmith, and the security guard informed the building management as well. The locksmith arrived at the flat shortly and managed to open the door. Though Rupal and Ishwaya rented the flat, the owners of the property were not present, so it took time for them to bring a duplicate key. As waiting was becoming unbearable, the door had to be opened with the help of the locksmith. When the door opened and a few people, including friends, entered the house, they were horrified by the scene they found. The living room floor was covered in blood, and the items in the room were scattered. The spread-out blood seemed to indicate that someone had been dragged from there and taken somewhere else. Following the trail of blood, they moved further into the flat. The blood trail led toward the bathroom. Upon opening the bathroom door, everyone was in shock. Inside, Ruppal was lying in a pool of blood, severely wounded. There were deep cuts on her neck, scratches on her face, and several other injuries on her body, clearly indicating that a murder had occurred. Ruppal's friend immediately called her sister, Ishwaya, and informed her of the grim situation. The building security guard alerted the police, and by 10 p.m., the police arrived at the building. Ruppal was rushed to the Rajawati Hospital in Gakapa, where doctors declared her dead. The marks on her neck indicated she had been attacked with a sharp weapon, and there were also scratch marks on her face. Her body bore several other signs of injury. By the time Ruppal's body was found, the blood flow had already stopped. Ruppal's family, upon hearing the tragic news, began preparing to fly to Mumbai. The loss was overwhelming for the family. Ruppal was a bright and ambitious girl, adored by everyone at home as the youngest daughter. Her father was a retired government engineer. After completing her early education in her hometown of Ruppal, Ruppal moved to Chandigarh for higher studies. She had always dreamed of becoming an air hostess. A social and active person, Ruppal was also an influencer on social media. To fulfill her dream, she applied to Air India after completing her studies in Chandigarh. She was selected, and her training was scheduled in Mumbai. Since her sister Ishwaya was already living in Mumbai in a rented flat, Ruppal moved in with her. She began her training in early 2023, and everything was progressing smoothly. Ruppal was doing well in her training, and the family was thrilled to see her achieving her dreams. But no one could have predicted that on September 3rd, Ruppal would be found murdered in her bathroom. In late August 2023, around Raksha Bandhan, Ruppal had gone back to her hometown of Ruppal with Ishwaya. A day before Rakhi, she received a call from Delhi regarding some medical tests that were required before joining as a flight attendant. She was told she had to be there before the deadline. Despite the short notice, Ruppal traveled alone from Ruppal to Mumbai and then to Delhi for the tests. Everything went smoothly, and she cleared them. Unfortunately, after her visit to Delhi, instead of returning to Ruppal, Ruppal went back to Mumbai, where she was tragically murdered. The police registered a case under Section 302 of the IPC and began their investigation. This case raised serious concerns about women's safety, even in a city like Mumbai. The local police, along with the crime branch, formed multiple teams to investigate. Forensic experts and fingerprint specialists also joined. The investigation revealed that everything seemed normal until 11 a.m. on September 3rd, when Ruppal last spoke to someone on the phone. After that, she stopped answering calls. The police checked Ruppal's phone records and call history. They suspected that someone she knew had entered the house, perhaps a friendly visit. After examining footage from the building CCTV and speaking with around 35 to 40 individuals, including residents, delivery personnel, and others, the police found no one with suspicious behavior. Their statement seemed consistent, and no one appeared to have a motive for the crime. By September 4th, the investigation had narrowed the time of the murder between 11 a.m. and noon, but the question remained, who was responsible for this tragic act? The maintenance staff, who were responsible for cleaning the building, would typically be the only people coming and going during the day. After noon, no one, apart from the housekeeping staff, would enter the flats. Therefore, the police initially believed that the murder occurred sometime before noon. The police obtained a list of staff from the housekeeping company that managed cleaning services for the building to identify those who had worked there. They also gathered a list of maids and other staff from the building management. The police began questioning the family members and friends of Rupal. Her family denied any potential disputes or relationships that could have led to her murder, and there was no evidence in her phone records suggesting anything suspicious. Rupal's last communication was a video call with a friend on September 3rd at 11 a.m. The friend informed the police that during the call, Rupal went to answer the door. The friend could not hear what the visitor said, but Rupal told him that the flat number was 306, not 304. She then closed the door. The friend could not see the visitor's face during the call because Rupal had pointed the phone towards the bathroom ceiling. The visitor could have been a delivery person who mistakenly came to the wrong flat. On further investigation, the police reviewed the CCTV footage from September 3rd. They observed an employee from the housekeeping company entering the building around 11:30 a.m., wearing his cleaning uniform. However, 2 hours later, at around 1:30 p.m., the same employee was seen leaving the building wearing different clothes, with his uniform nowhere in sight. This raised suspicions. The police inquired with the building's management and the housekeeping company. Everyone confirmed that employees typically change clothes after their shift, but they did so at home, not inside the building. The CCTV footage showed the employee had changed inside the building. The employee was identified as Vikram Atwal, a 40-year-old man whose wife also worked in the building as a maid. Vikram was responsible for cleaning the corridors and removing trash outside the flats, while his wife worked inside. Occasionally, Vikram would also clean the toilets of the flats for extra income. The couple lived in a village called Tunga near Paui. Vikram was originally from Haryana but had been working in Mumbai for several years. During questioning, police noticed that Vikram had a bandage on his hand and fresh injuries on his head and neck, indicating recent trauma. When asked about the injuries, Vikram claimed they were from an accident while cleaning the building. Further inquiries revealed that Vikram's wife had the day off on September 3rd and was not at work, meaning only Vikram was present that day. She also mentioned that when Vikram came home after work, he was wearing different clothes, and there was blood on his shirt. Vikram claimed he had been helping someone move glass and got injured during the process. His wife noted that he washed the shirt himself when she offered to help. All of these inconsistencies, combined with the CCTV footage, pointed towards Vikram. Suspicious of his behavior, the police arrested him on September 4th and took him in for further questioning. During the interrogation, his answers were vague and unconvincing. His explanation for changing clothes inside the building did not add up, and he could not explain where he had left his uniform. Additionally, it was discovered that Vikram had a history of conflicts with Rupal. With this evidence, the police were able to conclude that Vikram was involved in the murder. Vikram Atwal confessed to the murder of Rupal Ogra. As I mentioned earlier, Vikram also used to clean toilets and other bathroom areas. On September 3rd, a Sunday, Rupal had called him to her flat, telling him that the bathroom pipe was clogged and water wasn't draining properly. She asked him to come and check it. If it was fixed, great, but otherwise, a plumber would need to be called. Vikram had already planned to kill Rupal. 3 days before the murder, he had purchased a sharp weapon. When he went to Rupal's flat at around 11:30 a.m. under the pretense of cleaning, he had a change of clothes with him, knowing that if he committed murder, blood stains would get on his clothes. To avoid being caught if he left, he planned to change his clothes after the murder. Once inside, Vikram and Rupal had an argument, and then Vikram pulled out a sharp knife, which was a 9-inch coconut cutting knife. He tried to attack Rupal, but she wasn't an easy victim. She fought back fiercely, grabbing the metal part of the knife and tried to wrestle it away from him, striking him hard on the head with the wooden handle. The blow was so strong that Vikram almost lost consciousness. But Vikram managed to get the knife back and attacked her throat twice. Even after this, Rupal struggled with him, inflicting several injuries on him, including hitting his head with the handle of the knife. Finally, Rupal succumbed to her injuries. Vikram then dragged her body from the living room to the bathroom and locked it there. He then went to the other bathroom to clean the blood from the knife and himself. After changing into new clothes, Vikram remained in the building for another hour and a half. At 1:30 p.m., he left the premises. The motive for Rupal's murder raised several questions. Vikram told the police that Rupal frequently complained about the cleanliness of the place, often criticizing him for leaving dirt behind or not cleaning the trash properly. However, such complaints could hardly justify a murder. Cleaning staff is hired specifically for this purpose, and it's unreasonable to believe that a person would kill over such trivial matters. The conflicts between Vikram and Rupal were frequent, especially regarding the cleanliness, but there was no indication that Rupal had ever filed a formal complaint or informed anyone in her family. Some media reports suggested that Vikram might have had an inappropriate interest in Rupal and, due to a quarrel, decided to kill her. Since Rupal was alone at the flat when Vikram went for cleaning, it was speculated that his intentions might have been wise, and he brought the knife along in case his advances were rejected. However, the post-mortem didn't show any evidence of sexual assault, just signs of a struggle and marks around her neck. After the post-mortem, Rupal's body was handed over to her family on September 5th. Her family then took her body back to Ruppal via an Air India flight, the same airline company where she had dreamed of working as an air hostess. Thousands gathered to pay their respects during the funeral. On September 5th, Vikram was presented in court, and a 3-day remand was granted. The police later recovered the clothes and the knife used in the murder from a bush near the building. The knife was extremely sharp, and the police had more investigations and a crime reenactment to carry out. Vikram's remand was set to end on September 8th. As for what happened next, after Vikram's remand ended on September 8th, the police gathered further evidence, and during the investigation, it became clear that Vikram had planned the murder for some time. His intention to cover his tracks by changing clothes and cleaning up after himself, as well as his initial confession, were critical in piecing together the events leading to the tragic killing. The case eventually went to trial, where Vikram was charged with murder, and the prosecution presented his motives and actions as evidence. The final verdict was awaited as the investigation into his prior criminal history and psychological state was also being considered.